You want data off your PLC controllers, but you're not allowed to touch them. How are you going to get that? Here's how with Expanso Cloud you can do both. So one thing we get a lot of questions about with Expanso is I don't have the latest and greatest cloud servers, and I want to use Expanso to help migrate or pull data off of PLC controllers or Modbus or SCADA machines or whatever. Can we do that? I was like, yeah, absolutely. That's what we're built for. We don't care enormously about what exactly you're pulling off of. We can pull off just about anything. And let me show you how that works here. So what you see here are three sample machines. These are modeled off of real world controllers that we have seen. So each one here is generating data. And you can see this here, like as it flows through with various signals. You can obviously you have coolant pumps and HVAC machines, hydraulic presses. These are all simulated, but they are mapped to real world scenarios. So what folks often want to do is have a system that can pull from those locations and process it and then send it to a dedicated destination. We've written an Expanso pipeline to do that, which I'm going to show you here. It's a little bit of a long one, but you can basically see it. It's pretty straightforward. Here you can see we just read off the input off this listen address. So each one of those devices is pushing to a generic HTTP endpoint. We have over 184 different connectors. We can push, we can pull, we can read, we can do whatever you like, but a whole bunch of different options are there for you. And then inside that, you can see we grab this, we process it, we begin to structure the data in order to add lineage and provenance right there. We verify that the schema is all correct in line. This is something we see very often where schemas often change. Maybe they order the things, the sensors that coming off, the values coming off of a sensor. Previously, it might have been date time, then temperature, and now it's temperature, then date time, whatever it might be. We're able to do all that verification right there in line. And then once we get it, if it fails that validation, we stop it and push it through to a dead letter queue. But once it's done processing, then we're able to send it to different destinations. So maybe it passed and we're able to convert it into a normalized form. Maybe it failed and we send it to that dead letter queue that I was mentioning there. Or maybe we look for anomalies where something is above a certain value. And again, these are things we can tell at the edge before you move. And as a result, you're able to do some very intelligent movements where you can say, oh, there's a fault showing or a warning showing or something like that, all available for you right there in line. And if there are those alerts, we can send it through to a special place. Okay, so pretty straightforward stuff. This is where we send it to those various endpoints here at the bottom. Dead letter queue, we store it locally, we store it off to the fleets and so on. You haven't made any changes to your devices or hardware architecture or anything like that. You've just put our edge in the middle, and then it reads in and does this processing at the edge. When you decide to begin operating on it, here's that exact same pipeline laid out for you in a WYSIWYG format. If I go in and look at the code here, you can see that. This is all the stuff that you saw down below. Again, very, very straightforward stuff, all built in line, and you can do real-time editing and live checks and all that kind of good stuff. That's what we build in here for. I'm not going to do any of that. I'm just going to do the very basic start this guy. So I'm going to go over here and say start that pipeline. And once it's started, then it begins pulling through that data, and it's going to be doing that immediately. You can see the pipeline is going green. That means it is now deployed and running. When I go back over here and I go to the topology, we're immediately picking that up. And again, we have these sensors over here doing these pipelines. And you can see here's where the raw data is coming through. You can see that there. Then here's where it begins edited. This is where I retain that data at the edge, but now in the strongly typed format. Here's the aggregated data or minimized data that I push through. I'm only pushing through the things that are most important. And then here's where I might push through an error or an alert to a different endpoint where I need to take a very quick action. And all I did there was take that pipeline, turn it on, and then everything else remained the same. All those devices remain the same. All the pushing remained the same from these edge devices. We just started listening to it. And on top of that, not only am I getting all that data now flowing through to these endpoints, but I also get to monitor this pipeline right here live. So I can see here's where I actually deployed these things. You can see that restart happening right there. And when I go to monitoring, I can see that too. Here's the data actually flowing through. I can see the amount of input, output data happening right there live. Or maybe I need to go and debug something. I can do that too. I select this and start listening to that endpoint log. And you can see here it's beginning to try and write those through. And it is, in fact, writing it through. I can see the logs live without me ever having to SSH in or get access to that remote machine. I can just see that passing through, which is exactly as intended. So a much easier way to put Expanso next to the devices you already own and help you manage them as they flow through, manage that data as it flows through, landing it in the appropriate place with the right metadata and context for you to make good decisions. Thanks.